All right, Brandon, who gives the Niners the best chance for a deep playoff run this season, Jimmy G or Trey Lance?
All right, so Trey Lance, love the kid. He was down here at the start of combine season to get ready for the NFL draft, and I fell in love with the kid. The kid has it all. He's big. He looks like a dang on tight end. He has all the talent in the world when you think about his arm. And up here, in between the ears, people love him, and they say, you know what, soon as he steps foot in the building, he gets it right away. Trey Lance, they moved up, like you said, to the 3 to get him. But then you have Jimmy G. Jimmy G, on the other hand, this is a dude, small sample size in New England. It was only like, 3 games, Nick? 4 games where he went out there and he lit it up and he kept the thing together until Tom Brady came back. And I think that was the year Tom Brady was suspended. He ended up getting hurt.
One of his many cheating
But everybody
scandals.
said, oh, my goodness. Yeah, there you go.
Yep,
and then you saw everybody was like, oh, Jimmy G is next level. And then he gets traded.
Oh.
And what happens when he gets traded? He sat for a little bit, and then he went out there and lit it up. I think it was 6 games in a row. What, they go 6-0? And everyone's like, oh, this is our guy. Get to that offseason, they extend him. He gets big money. And then it was just up and down for a couple of years. Jimmy G is the right answer, and here's why. Because after all of that being said about Trey Lance, even what I said about Jimmy G, you know, the small sample size, lighting it up here, and then struggling the last couple years, Jimmy G, there's 2 things that's been holding him back. One is injuries. If he can stay healthy, oh boy. And 2, can't be a slow blinker. And we talked about this, Wildes.
Okay, enough.
You know, there's a few things I just don't like. I don't like, you got to protect the ball. Ball security is job security, yours and mine.
Yours and
mine. You can't be a slow blinker. And nobody's talking about this with Jimmy G. Look at all these highlights, and what are you seeing? The ball getting out his hands quickly. And that's a quarterback who knows where he's going with the ball. You got to be able to get back there, and when that back foot hit, you got to be able to know where you're going with that ball. That's not a slow blinker. If he can correct that, I can assure you this team is going to be in great position come December, come January. This dude is the answer. They got some young wide receivers that can get it done. Defensively, what I'm hearing is that they're looking good. So, yes, Trey Lance is looking good right now. I talked to a friend in that organization. They said, look, Jimmy G is balling, but Trey Lance is balling too. And they believe that their best option right now is Jimmy G. So I'm telling you right now, if he stays healthy and he continues to process the way he is and getting the ball out quick and not be a slow blinker, they're going to be right where they need to be come December.
Okay, so I feel like what's happening in San Francisco, Nick, is exactly what happened in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. And Jimmy G is Alex Smith. You've got a guy that people are, at this point, he's viewed as underrated. And even though Jimmy G is 22-8 with the 49ers, he's still underrated. And Alex Smith played that whole year, and you started to hear bubbling up, oh, this Patrick Mahomes guy is pretty good. You should see this Patrick Mahomes guy in practice. Holy cow, this Patrick Mahomes is going to be really excellent. But Alex Smith sort of like held the reins the entire time. Patrick Mahomes got in at the end. That's exactly how the 49ers should go. My only issue with the conversation around this is, or even our question, who gives the 49ers the best chance for a deep playoff run? Jimmy G literally went to the Super Bowl. He went to the Super Bowl, and he was 6 minutes away from being a Super Bowl champion. So it bothers me when people rewrite history that Jimmy G can't bring a team to the Super Bowl when he was literally in the Super Bowl. And Jimmy G is too nice of a guy to be like, guys, I was literally in the Super Bowl. Not like, can I do it? Can Lamar Jackson do it? Like, I was literally in the Super Bowl. And I know people are like, well, what about the pass? Well, he missed a pass. Jameis Winston threw 30 balls to the other team. People are like, got to give Jameis Winston a shot. Carson Wentz
talking about my
had
guy.
to be traded. Like, oh, I'm high on Carson Wentz. Jimmy G misses one pass, wins game, and hands the ball off because that's the game plan that he's told to do.
Why do I feel like Wildes is attacking me right now? He talked about Carson.
I like Jimmy G.
He's not
attacking
you.
People.
He's
You
not
guys stick up
attacking
for
you.
each other.
He's not attacking you, Brandon.
Gosh,
He's not
Those are my
attacking
guys.
anyone individually. He's just giving a terrible take. There's no attacks. It's just a bad take. Wildes, I'm also sick of history being rewritten, most notably by you, about how Jimmy Garoppolo got to that Super Bowl. Their first playoff game, he threw for 130 yards. The defense, which was magnificent, held the opponent to 10 points. That's why they won. Their second playoff game, he threw 8 passes. Not completions, not first downs, passes. He threw for 77 yards. So I'm not giving him a ton of credit for those wins. Then, in the Super Bowl, his defense put him in great position to win it. And it wasn't just the one pass he missed to Emmanuel Sanders when they were trailing. It was the multiple batted down passes that he couldn't complete when they were winning, when they only needed 3 first downs to win the Super Bowl. That's what happened. You want to talk about, he went to a Super Bowl. So did Jared Goff. You want him as your quarterback? Because the Rams didn't. They sent him to Detroit. Maybe you'd want Jared Goff as your quarterback. I don't know, but I wouldn't. And this idea of it's what the Chiefs did. Guess what? It was a massive mistake by the Chiefs to let Alex Smith finish off that season. They started the year off well. They then went into a slump, but they've been to the playoffs a bunch of years in a row with Alex. They're like, no, don't go to the rookie. And what happened in that playoff game? They blew a 17-point lead at home to Marcus Mariota, who can't start in this league anymore. You know why? Because Alex Smith had a very clear ceiling. Jimmy Garoppolo has a very clear ceiling. The answer to this question is Trey Lance. And what I think is pretty clearly happening, Brandon, is the Niners are trying to goose Jimmy G's trade value. They see what's going on around the league. They see what's happening in Indy, and I don't think Indy's going to trade for him because they've already invested too much in Carson Wentz. They know there will be the inevitable quarterback injury. They know there will be the team that gets a little anxious, like, oh boy, we got off to a slower start than we thought we would. A team maybe like Washington that thinks they can rely on their defense. Sorry, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Or something like that. Don't forget the Washington point because I don't want to make this about Fitzpatrick. It's not what I meant. Point is, a team like Denver that had pipe dreams of Aaron Rodgers and might say, my God, we're really going to run this Drew Lock experiment again. And so I think, Brandon, this is all about the Niners have done a good job of making sure every day almost someone talks about how good Trey is, someone talks about how good Jimmy is, which gets the two messages out. One is, we love Trey. We'd be comfortable with him. The other is, Jimmy's awesome. You better pay us a lot for him. Ooh. To me, that's what's going on.
It's a good take.
But I think John Lynch, I played with John Lynch. When I was a rookie in Denver, he was one of our savvy veterans there still getting it done. And I know John and his family well. John is an honest guy. He's transparent. He wears his emotions on the sleeve. When you hear him say, listen, we have 2 guys playing well right now. This is a good problem to have. I believe John. John is not one of those GMs out there or guys that's going to go out there publicly and try to build up a player just for trade value. Say something publicly, but behind closed door, tell a player another thing or don't speak to a player. That's not John Lynch. I believe him. I want to go back to you and Wildes' fight quickly, though, because we're talking about stats. We're talking about the quarterback. So here's the deal, Wildes. This is why Nick is right, okay? It's not about his stats. It's about why his stats were low. Now, I believe Tom Brady, for them to repeat, Tom Brady needs to rely on his defense and he needs to rely on the offense. The running game, which means he shouldn't be throwing 300 yards a game. It shouldn't look like that. He needs to rely on the strength of that team. So does that make Tom Brady less than? No, it doesn't. But when you look at Jimmy G, and then also, Nick, I throw Baker Mayfield in here, and this is why you and I always bump heads, is because that run that Jimmy G had, that Super Bowl run, they were protecting him, Wildes. They were saying, if we let him throw it, he's going to mess it up. We have a great defense, and we're running the ball efficiently. Let's not mess this up. And it's the same thing with Baker, though, Nick. And I know this is not about Baker, but it's not like, oh, let's just run the ball and let's just, let's just go with our offensive line. That's not it. What they're saying is if we give him the ball, there's a good chance he mess it up. Now, will he grow out of that? He probably will. He showed that last year. But the thing with Jimmy G, and I'm telling you guys this, is injuries, and it was between his heads.
Yeah,
Here's what I asked somebody in that organization. Hold on one second. Here's what I asked someone in the organization, or not what I asked, is what I said. I said, you guys know y'all have a problem on y'all hands, right? I said, Jimmy G is going to go out there and ball. He looks like he's playing sensational or practicing well right now. I said, at the end of this year, what are you guys going to do, okay? And they said, look, he's balling, Trey is balling, and that's a great problem for us to have. And look, we believed going into this thing that if he can overcome those two things, that he will give us the best opportunity to win. Because there's something, I keep talking about these moments in games, situational football, where it's just from experience or reps that where a rookie just can't overcome those situations because they just haven't seen it. It doesn't mean that they're less than, doesn't mean that they're not good or better than. It's just
there's
moments in games that separates the good teams and the great teams.
Russ and RG3, and it was the same year. The last time we saw rookie quarterbacks lead winning teams, like winning teams to the playoffs. Russ won a playoff game. RG3 damn near won a playoff game, got his knee torn up. Like, you don't typically see that. I understand that. And I understand your point that you trust John Lynch. And John Lynch is going to make be inducted into the Hall of Fame shortly, and I'm happy for him, and he's done a good job in San Francisco. I also trust John Lynch. But his actions more than his words. His actions have been, Tom Brady, will you please come play for us? Aaron Rodgers, you're available? All right, neither of those things are happening. I'll trade 3 first-round picks because I don't trust my quarterback. His actions have been, we got to move off Jimmy G because the only people that love him are Kevin Wildes, other Patriot fans, and his friends and family. Like, they knew they had to move on.
But think about that, though, Nick. Don't you respect that? We've been talking about it for 2 years. We've been talking about Jimmy G's play. And they went out there,
a hell of it.
And he stood on the table and he was honest. He said, this is where we're at with Jimmy G. They were honest with Jimmy G.
Yeah.
So now we're standing at the start of camp, and he's saying they're both playing well. So let's see what happens, at the end of camp and the training camp and as they go into the regular season.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.